and welcome to Turning the Key at SNG. This podcast is our space to share updates, explain what's happening at SNG, and most importantly, put residents and staff in the same room. Each episode, we'll talk about hot topics, answer questions, and have an open conversation about what matters most to our residents. So welcome to the very first episode of our podcast. Today, we're asking a simple but important question. Who is SNG? We'll take a look at where we've come from, explore our geography, and look ahead to the future. I should probably introduce myself. I'm Phoebe. I work at SNG, but I'm also a customer. So I know firsthand what it's like to live in one of our homes. I've lived in my home for the last 3.5 years, and I understand the challenges, frustrations, and the little wins that come with everyday life as a customer. And that experience shapes how I approach my work each day. I'm the producer of this podcast, which means I'll mostly be working behind the scenes to bring each episode together. You might hear from me from time to time, but I'm here to help make sure the conversations are grounded in the experiences of people living in our homes. This podcast won't fix everything, but it is a step towards being more open, more honest, and more accountable. We know we won't always get it right, but we will keep trying, and we'll make sure that your voice is part of that conversation. So, we've turned the key and we've opened the door. Now it's time to step inside and get started with our very first episode. So today we are asking a very simple but important question. Who is SNG? And to help me answer that question, I am joined here by Ellie Cutler, who is one of our social value specialists. Hello, Ellie.
Hi, Phoebe. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're more than welcome. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Thank you. Excited.
Yeah, me too. This is our first episode.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's important to explain how we first met because we're not typical colleagues, really, are we?
No, I wouldn't say so.
No. So to go way back, we first met when we were working in our local supermarket.
That was fun.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I was on the tills and were you stacking shelves?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I did a bit of everything, to be fair. I moved around, but I like stacking the shelves.
Yeah, and I like the tills because I could talk to people.
Yeah.
Look where we are now. That makes sense, doesn't it? So we were working together in our local supermarket, and then fast forward to when I was living in my first flat, and I'd been there a couple of months, and all of a sudden I could hear the lettings agent like trying to get into the flat opposite us, and it was empty at the time. And I had nothing better to do with my time, clearly. So I decided to camp out by my front door with a ruler, trying to open up my letterbox and try and have a peek to see who's my new neighbour. I want to see who this is.
You're so nosy.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I fully embrace that. And I opened up the letterbox with my ruler and I see the back of Ellie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my new neighbour is Ellie. Well, this is going to be fun. Yeah. This is going to be really good. But we'd both moved on from our jobs at that point. And I was looking for a change in career, and you'd recently got a new job.
Yeah. So I'd recently got a new job as a temp in the gas team at SNG. So my dad works for SNG, and so I was unemployed for like maybe 3 months or something. So I was like looking for a job. My dad works there. I thought, oh, I know it's temporary, so but I thought I'd give it a go. And yeah, it was really good. If I'm honest, I really felt like a child at that point. Like I didn't feel ready to like speak on the phone to a customer. So obviously I was on the gas team, and the first time I answered the phone, so we had inbound calls. I literally had a woman like shouting at me straight away because she didn't have heating and hot water, and obviously I understand that's her priority at the time, but I felt so like unprepared and like I didn't know what to do, and I literally just cried because this woman was shouting at me and I didn't know what to do. But obviously I was really supported by the team, and they helped me resolve the call. But it was definitely a bit of a wake up call for me, I would say.
You're in the real world now.
Yeah,
you're not stacking shelves.
No, not stacking shelves. No, definitely not. It was definitely the start of my professional journey, I'd say, because before, I know I had employment in that supermarket as such, but it was like being at school, honestly. It was like the drama and stuff.
Well, I was looking for a change in career, and you just started with Sovereign Network Group, and I came over and I was chatting to you and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know which direction I want to go in. And you said, oh, well, there's a job coming up in our local office. Like, have a look. Yeah. And it just happened to be the perfect job for me, and I was like, oh, I'm going for this. Like, this is amazing.
When I first read the advert, I knew we were like friends anyway, but when I first read the advert I was like, this is Phoebe, like down to a T, honestly. So yeah, I'm so pleased that you obviously secured the job. I'm
still in the role now. I mean, 6 years later, I must be doing all right.
It must be.
It must be. We're here. So that's good. We're going to talk about fluffy jobs.
Fluffy jobs, all right.
Yeah. So I've been told before that I'm in a fluffy job. And people listening might not really know what we're talking about. But to give it a brief explanation, you've got lots of roles in the business that are the absolute core to a functioning landlord. And then towards the outside of that, you've got the inverted commas, fluffy jobs, which are not fluffy. I will just point out. But they're the ones that kind of, they seem like nice to haves, but the reality is they're not nice to haves.
No.
At all, really, are they?
No.
So have you been told you're in a fluffy job?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think especially because I hate it when someone asks me, what do you do? Like, you know, it's like such a normal question. And I find that sometimes it takes so long to explain my job role that at the end of it, they're like, what even is that job? Like, is that a real job? What do you do every day, sort of thing? Yeah. So I've definitely heard that. And I think because I've worked in different roles in the business and things like that, the comparison between when I worked in the gas team, for example, the gas team, rightly, the ethos is like the home is the heating and the hot water. That's the priority of the team. And obviously in the winter, if a home doesn't have heating or hot water, that's an emergency. And, you know, we need to get out within 24 hours and deal with that. But I love that through like securing my role as project officer for the I Will Fund and now as social value specialist, that it's definitely... we're proving that we are more than just bricks. We're more than just a home and heating and hot water and like the fundamental needs. That a home is a thriving community and that we want people to feel belonging and feel from like part of their community.
Okay, so we're going to rewind to a couple of weeks ago when we were first talking about this first episode of this podcast, and we were discussing topics and what is the best opening episode, basically. So we met with our podcast team and we went through plenty of options, and to be honest, there's plenty of episodes we could talk about for days. But none of them were quite landing right. So I went home that day and I was speaking to my partner, who is obviously also a Sovereign Network Group resident. And he basically said this.
I've lived in a sovereign property for a number of years and I live with somebody that works for Sovereign, but my knowledge of Sovereign is minimal. I still don't have a clue who Sovereign are or what Sovereign do, but I do know how much money I've got to send them every month.
He was right. Realistically, like, how much do you know about your landlord? Like, he lives with me. I mean, please ignore how much he pays attention. And
oh gosh.
And it doesn't seem to matter what I talk about. He just smiles and nods and he's like, yeah. All he really knows at the end of the day is the amount of rent that he needs to pay.
I think that's pretty normal though. I think the general consensus is that's what people care most about, isn't it? And they know about.
Exactly. And I think when we're in the business and we are surrounded by it, whether you are a resident that also works for SNG or you are just a colleague, I think you get wrapped up in that and you get wrapped up into the acronyms as well. And just to say, if we get caught out by the acronym trap and we say something and you have no idea what this means as a listener, please let us know in the comments and pull us up on it and we will do our best to fix it, because I'm telling you now, it's quite ingrained.
Yeah, and there's so many different acronyms and some of them are so similar as well.
Yes.
But you're right, when you do it every day, you do kind of just, it
becomes normal.
It becomes normal, yeah. So I do think it's important to, like you say, take the time to explain them. And if you don't know what we're talking about, please do let us know.
We'll do our best. We'll try. If nothing else, we will try. With this episode, we're going to strip it back to the basics and we're going to talk about where we've been, where we're going, what we're about, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's what people will find most beneficial, like who are SNG.
So let's jump into some stats, shall we? So we serve over 200,000 customers and we manage over 85,000 homes across London, Hertfordshire, the South and the Southwest. We're big.
Yeah, but we're pretty big. Yeah, we cover a large area.
We are one of the biggest in the country, one of the biggest housing associations in the country. We're also a non-for-profit, so all of the money that we earn is then reinvested back into our homes.
Definitely. Yeah, well, it should be. So we are a non-for-profit. Everything we earn is reinvested back into our homes. And in the last financial year alone, so that's 2024 to 2025, we finished 1,590 new homes, which is fantastic. Our employment and skills team, they helped 382 people get jobs.
That's mad.
Again. Yeah, really important. So it's not just about the home, it's about finding them employment, which is really important.
And making sure that they can sustain their home as well.
Exactly.
If they need help. Not everyone obviously needs help with that, but we offer it.
We offer it, yeah. And I think it's about offering lots of different things because, as you say, everyone's in different positions and things like that. So as well as supporting our customers directly, we've also supported 424 community organisations through our community foundation. And through that, over 30,000 people took part in community activities that we supported.
That's crazy.
I know, 30,000.
Yeah.
Like in comparison, so, we finished those just over 1,500 homes, which is great. But we've also helped over 30,000 people take part in community activities and providing that thriving community, that it's not just about the home anymore. It's not about the heating and the hot water and the bricks and the mortar. It's about the community and that they feel belonging and that they feel safe and things like that. And then finally, at SNG, we use the Housing Association's Charitable Trust, or HACT, we call it.
Acronym.
Acronym, sorry. But yeah, we call it HACT, and it's a wellbeing valuation to measure our social impact.
That is so wordy.
It is so wordy, but don't worry, I'm going to break it down.
Break it down.
Because I do think this is really important to share, because I do want everyone to know this. So in the last financial year alone, our efforts and activities generate over £140 million in social value, which I know, again, it is quite wordy, and you're like, what is social value? So HACT, they are a charity in the housing sector, in the social housing sector, so they're completely separate from SNG, and they focus on innovation in housing, and it's about enhancing people's lives. And then back in 2014, so we're going back a little bit, they created something called the UK Social Value Bank, and this is a way to measure how much of a difference a particular activity makes in someone's life. So at SNG, this is our go-to tool for tracking the impact that we're actually making, sort of outside of those numbers of the. I know we have engaged those 30,000 people, but also we collect lots of other data, like if we make them feel more confident and if they feel more belonging and if they feel able to ask for advice. So it's not just about counting how many people get involved in something. We're digging deeper into the real effects.
And the impact
of the projects and the programmes that we are delivering.
Yeah.
And we're also focusing on encouraging our partners to give back. So whether that's through donations to local community groups, by offering money or resources or materials that can make a real difference. So it's all about measuring our impact and providing wraparound support. And it goes back to the fact that we aren't just bricks and mortar. It's not about the heating, the hot water and the bricks and that anymore. It's about building thriving communities together.
Let's go backwards a little bit. So we are one of the biggest housing associations in England, but we obviously didn't start that way.
No.
So over the decades, housing associations have merged to become what we know as SNG today. SNG officially formed in October 2023.
Yes.
And this was through the merger of Sovereign Housing Association and Network Homes.
Yes.
So do you know what the benefits are of the latest merger?
I'd say there's quite a few benefits, but sort of in short, it's definitely strengthened our capacity to build new homes. So our corporate plan is to build 25,000 homes over the next 10 years, which works out as 18% more homes than we would have built if we hadn't gone through with this merger.
So essentially 18% of that is an add-on from being able to merge?
Yes, as a direct result of the merger.
Wow. Fair. So we should point out why it's important to build new homes.
Yeah.
So 1.2 million people are currently on the waiting list.
Yeah, which is crazy.
England
That's
alone.
So many people.
Yeah. And building more social homes is the most effective long-term solution to homelessness, reducing homelessness as well. Also, this point, which I find quite interesting, is that a secure home helps children do better in school. It can improve health outcomes and it can reduce stress levels, which it seems obvious, doesn't it? Like when you read it out loud, but I think that does get forgotten about sometimes. And actually just having a warm house and the roof over your head without the stress of that, so you can actually focus on everything else that you've got going on in your life. It's very important. So every new home that is built supports jobs in construction as well. So we're not even just thinking inwards, like outwards. We are also, this helps the economy as well.
Definitely.
And the wider supply chain. And then also younger generations getting to stay close to their support networks. Like if my child wants to grow up and stay local, yes, please do. Please do. If he wants to grow up and stay local, he should be able to do so, like as everyone, within our homes. And we would like to to do that if we can.
I agree. And it's about providing those opportunities to do so. But I also think there is something there about going the other way. I think it's about a balance. So it's about welcoming new people and new cultures and new challenges. And like through the merger that we just had with Network Homes and former Sovereign Housing Association, so I work for former Sovereign, and so I, for the first time, was able to work in London and Hertfordshire, and the people from those areas are facing much different barriers from where I'm from in Dorset, and from the Isle of Wight and like Devon, like the places I'm used to visiting. But I'm really enjoying working with those organisations, and especially where I know that we come from the same town, a very small town, and it's really interesting to have expanded and see different.
I think it's good. It's good to be exposed to different cultures that you're not typically exposed to. Like, how else do you learn?
Yeah, I agree. But that's why I think it's great that we've expanded out and we've brought in new colleagues from different areas and with different expertises and specialisms, I think. Yeah,
definitely, for sure. I think it's fair to say as well, like we say, we grew up in a small town in Dorset, and SNG, it has always been a big provider for jobs. Typically, you can kind of go around your local pub and you'll probably find someone that works for SNG.
Yeah, I'd say where we're from. And it's always been that way.
Yeah, because you said your dad works for SNG as well.
Yeah, so my dad's actually worked for SNG for years, like as long as I remember now, really. And I grew up in an SNG home.
Same, yeah.
And so I've known who they are for quite a long time. I'd say. But I will say that before I started this role, I didn't quite realise how much support offer was on offer to customers. So I do think that's why I'm so glad that we're doing something like this, so that we can share the exciting opportunities that we do have and the offers that we've got available.
For sure. Also, how many people have asked if you work for Signpost?
Oh, so many people.
Or Spectrum.
Or Spectrum, yeah.
Or still Sovereign.
I know. I always do try and correct them, but people they just don't know, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't if they don't know. So we try our best to keep up with the latest merch.
Yeah, just like everyone else, I suppose.
Yeah, bearing in mind, I think it was Signpost was founded in 1989, I think it was. And Signpost turned into Spectrum in 2007, and people are still referring to the old name. So there's only so much that we can do. And we're talking about the mergers that were kind of happening in Dorset, let alone what was happening in all of our other areas. So moving on to our locality model, what is SNG's locality model and why does it matter? So we recognise that over time, and especially after COVID, that we had become a bit distant and a bit faceless as a housing association, and we could see that we weren't engaging the way that we would like to. The old structure that we had, it made it hard to deliver up a joined up service, and different teams handled different things. So there was no single point of contact either. So customers often got passed around, or they didn't know what help they needed, or they might be getting different answers that kind of contradicted.
Yeah. So this is where our localities model comes in. So SNG has 14 localities. Now, a locality is a word that we use to describe a geographical area. So it just means an area, basically. But, fancy word, got to have one. So each locality or area has a dedicated team that takes responsibility for that locality in its entirety, or that area. So this is from housing and property to communities engagement teams. And so every team across SNG will focus on a specific locality. So our locality areas range from Cornwall to Oxford, around London, down to Brighton.
Yeah, at the moment.
Which is crazy. And obviously where we're from in Dorset, so lots of different areas, and Hertfordshire. But so the locality model is so imagine that we've got mini housing associations across our regions.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I love this way to explain it. So it's like, although SNG is your housing association, the locality team that focuses just on your area, knows your area inside and out, the barriers that you're specifically facing, and the support offer in your area specifically. So it brings the services closer to our customers, and it helps to build those relationships and listen and respond to local needs rather than the needs of the nation as a whole, because it might be completely different in London to on the Isle of Wight, for example.
Let's be honest, it definitely is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then I suppose then it just means that services are closer to customers. They're more tailored to customers as well. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think one thing that I found really interesting when I was chatting to our localities director was how they decided to put teams across the 14 localities. And spoiler alert, it wasn't a case of, every officer gets 1,000 homes and good luck. It was none of that, which perhaps was how it was done before.
Yeah, no, that is the way that it used to be though, right?
Yeah. So the reality is when they started with this change, there was no blank check. There was no extra staff. There were, we didn't have an endless pot of resources to be able to make this change. So they decided to take a different approach within the teams, and they decided to look at demand data. You ever heard that?
Demand data.
No, you have.
Yeah.
So instead of it being even distribution, because it's the same doesn't make it fair.
True.
So they took a look at how much work was actually coming in from each area. Some places have more homes, more issues, more fly tipping, more everything.
Definitely.
And they needed more boots on the ground, basically.
Yeah, it does make sense. So it's not just about the numbers, it's about how much work each area generates and like the barriers they're facing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, one officer might have fewer homes, but if those homes need a lot of support, that's a full-time job in itself. But being smart with resources and making sure that staff weren't overwhelmed is important.
So it's kind of like building a team that's based on like the actual needs, not just like the spreadsheets and like the original aim. If
Human way of working,
Yeah.
essentially. And hopefully it means that more customers get a better service and teams are actually sized to match the reality of what's needed on the ground.
Looking for a simple, flexible way to have your voice heard? Meet Engage, SNG's digital engagement platform that brings you into the conversation. Whether you're sharing feedback, exploring opportunities, or looking for information to join one of our resident panels, Engage is your space to connect and contribute. So, if you're ready to make a difference and help shape the future of your community, head to engage.sng.org.uk and tell us what you think. Engage. Your voice, your space, your say.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look to the future of social housing. Now, the reality of this is dependent on the government. And some people might not be too aware of that, like from funding to policy being shaped out, that sort of thing. So council housing and housing associations are both types of social housing, but they're not the same.
Yeah, no.
So I talk to my dad about work every once in a while. And
once in a while.
Every once in a while I talk to my dad about what's going on with work. And he always seems to call me a civil servant.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm really not, Dad. I can't take that. Like,
take the credit.
I'm genuinely not. Maybe if he listens to hi Dad, if you're listening to the podcast, maybe he'll realise I'm not a civil servant. Bless him. But do you know the key differences between the types of housing?
Yeah, so the council housing is owned and managed by the local authorities, but the housing associations, as we said earlier, are independent and non-for-profit organisations that they often work in partnership with the government, but they operate separately. But I do think there is confusion there about people thinking that if you're from a housing association home, that you're from a council home, or there's like a stigma about that.
Oh yeah.
And absolutely, there
stigma we'll get into on another day. That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah, 100%.
So council housing and housing associations both aim to provide affordable homes.
Yes.
But housing associations may also be able to offer options like shared ownership or homes for sale. And this then helps fund our social housing work. So SNG works really closely with the government. And, that relationship has changed over time with different governments, depending on what's going on. Like we're heavily influenced by government decisions and the country's financial situation, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the key ways that the government do support housing associations like ourselves is through grant funding, and that helps us to build affordable homes. So however, the amount and the type of the funding available at a particular time can shift and change depending on who's in power and what policies they introduce and the state of the country at the moment and things like that. So, for example, after the financial crash in 2010, funding was reduced at that time, obviously, and sort of redirected towards schemes like shared ownership, which would help give people the opportunity to get on the property ladder that they never would have got before.
Yeah. So essentially, when the government reduced funding after the financial crash, housing associations, we had to get creative.
Well, exactly. We had to think outside the box, sort of thing. They couldn't rely on grants anymore in the same way that they had, because they weren't available anymore. Yeah. So they started looking for other ways to sort of bring in money, and for example, building homes that they then put for sale on the open market.
Mm-hmm. It's a big shift, though, isn't it? And I think it's a bit different from what people expect a housing association to do.
I think it is. It is a bit different, yeah. But I think the idea is that the profit from these sales is then reinvested into building more affordable homes, and then some organisations also merge to increase their borrowing power, which help them,
like us with our 18%.
Exactly, which help them fund new developments. Well, it is a little bit different from what people expect, I think. But I think it's about making sure people understand that there isn't, the profit that's generated is reinvested back into those homes and into the thriving communities. Yeah. So with all these changes in government funding, how does that affect us at SNG, and what are we planning?
Well,
do you know?
It puts us in a strong position, like financially, with borrowing power and whatnot.
Yes.
I mean, we're pushing ahead with some ambitious plans.
Ooh, excited.
So as we said, over the next 10 years, we are aiming to build 25,000 homes, new homes, and around 90% of them will be affordable.
What does affordable actually mean, Phoebe? Because I feel like the word just gets
different to everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's subjective, isn't it? But I think it's a fair question, and affordable can mean different things depending on the context, obviously. But generally, it refers to homes that cost less than market rate. So social rent and affordable rent, or schemes like shared ownership, basically. So the aim is basically for people on lower or middle incomes to still be able to access a safe, secure home without being priced out, essentially. So it's probably worth pointing out as well the difference between affordable rent and social rent, because I didn't even know this until I looked into it. So essentially, social rent is usually lower and is set using a national formula based on things like local income and property size. Affordable rent can be up to 80% of the local market rate. So it's still cheaper than renting privately, but affordable rent is more expensive than social rent, for example. So again, this is an option for housing associations to make when government grants are limited. It then kind of gives us a bit more flexibility to be like, we still need to build, these homes are still needed. We still need to build them. We might not be getting as much support as we'd like from the government. So this is how we're going to find our way to do so.
Yeah, get around that. Yeah, so while the government decisions will always play a role as such, it's clear that housing associations like ourselves at SNG are thinking for the long term and making sure that we're ready for whatever comes next and able to have that flexibility to see what happens and meet the demands of the nation at the time.
Yeah, I mean, all of our ambitions, they're built on what we've already learned. Which is quite reassuring, how to adapt when funding changes.
Definitely.
How to balance social purpose with financial resilience as well, all while doing our best to keep people at the heart of what we're doing. So it's really nice being able to talk about how all of these pieces fit together. Like we've spoken about our locality model, making sure that we're present and we're responsive. We've taken a look at the bigger picture and how the government decisions shape what we can actually deliver as well.
Yeah, it's like we're constantly it's a balancing act, isn't it? So we're balancing the local and the national, and then on one hand we're out there chatting with the customers face to face about the fly tipping and the repairs and the things that's going on. But then on the other hand, we're also planning how to build thousands of affordable homes in the future based on the funding policies that we don't even control or have sight of at the moment anyway.
We don't even know. Yeah, who knows? Who knows which way this is going to go? But I think SNG's approach is built to adapt. And I think whether it's reshaping our teams to meet local demand or finding new ways to fund homes when grants are tight, I think we're not just reacting, we are planning ahead.
Oh, yeah, we are planning ahead, and we're doing it in a way that keeps people at the centre of it all, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think we're influenced by government decisions, but we're not defined by them.
No,
I think it's fair
defined.
to say. We've got a clear purpose, we've got a strong plan, and a team that genuinely does care about the communities that we serve.
Yeah, and I think that feels like a good place to wrap up, I reckon.
Go on, then we'll go to the outro.
Yeah, cool.
So thank you for tuning into our very first episode of Turning the Key at SNG. If you've ever wondered who we are and what we do, we hope today has given you a clearer picture. So if you've got a question, a topic you'd like us to cover, or someone you'd love to hear from, you can contact us about the podcast through Engage, which is engage.sng.org.uk, or you can visit our webpage, sng.org.uk.
Mm-hmm.
That was all my memory at that point. All of our links are linked below anyway. And then if you have a question about your home or your community, get in touch with our contact centre by calling, emailing or messaging us on Facebook. Now, that's us locking up for now. See you next time.